How you doing, family? I am just in time for Mental Health Friday. We're going to have a conversation about the Dahmer show. So, as you guys all start to come in, you know what to do, but just in case you all forgot, let me tell you what I need you to do. I'm going to need you guys to share this video. Make sure you share the video because this video will not be shared with you guys through YouTube. You already know how YouTube is doing me. So share the video. Shout out to Desiree Dixon. How are you doing, beloved? How are you, Derek Varner? How you doing, Brownie Williams? I'm so glad you guys are coming in. What's up, Monique Thornton? I'm so glad you ladies and you gentlemen are all coming in. Share the video, whether you are on YouTube or you are on Facebook. We're going to have a really deep conversation about this Dahmer situation, okay? Shout out to April and VMJM, to Mother Hanifa. How you doing, Mother? Queen Mother. Thank you so much, Garth and Christopher. Thank you so much for all of you guys who are on here. Share the video. If you are on Facebook, share the video. You guys, it's really going to require you guys to share and converse in the chat because not only do I not come on consistently, but YouTube has me shadow banned. For some reason, I think I keep telling you guys to get guns. I keep telling you to exercise your rights under the Constitution, and YouTube doesn't like those kind of things. So the videos where I talk about that, I have lower views. You know how the liberals are? The liberals are out of control. But we're going to talk about the Jeffrey Dahmer show. In the meantime, in between time, if you are on YouTube, I want you guys to give a fat thumbs up. If you are on Facebook, give me a good thumbs up. Like the channel, subscribe to the channel. Let's do what we have to do. I want to go ahead and get started today. I see some people on. There goes Sid. He said, I thought your topic tonight was going to be the Emmy Udoka scandal. Why would it be that? Why would it be that? Why would I have to talk about that tonight? I'm just curious, right? You don't have to have watched the Netflix series on Dahmer. You don't have to have watched that. We're going to have a real critical conversation about that. But to my brother in the chat, I'm going to highlight your message. Why would I talk about this on this channel? I would probably save that for Instagram. To everyone who has not been following my Instagram page, that's where I talk about relationships. That's when I unpack that thing. Right now, I'm just doing a focus on showing women my relationship because I think that needs to be seen, because I think a lot of people follow coaches and gurus who don't share their own lives, but they're telling you what to do with yours. They don't tell you how to get through their arguments and stuff. We show our arguments. We show our disagreements on Instagram. We show how we get through those things. But I don't know why I would talk about him on YouTube. I think what I have to say is more important for Mental Health Fridays, but I could be wrong. Somebody said, I need therapy after watching it. Keith Jones needs therapy after watching Jeffrey Dahmer. I don't need any therapy. Baby, Keith, let me tell you before we get started. Let me tell you, when I was watching Jeffrey Dahmer show, the only thing I was missing was popcorn. I'm trying to lose some weight. So the only thing I was missing was popcorn because I was like, well, damn. I mean, I knew about the story when I was a kid because, in the 90s, I was like in high school. I was a child. I was going into college at that time. So I knew about the crazy man. But I didn't know the man was that crazy. And then I didn't see all the different lenses that we're going to talk about today. I mean, I didn't see all the different lenses when I was younger because obviously I wasn't conscious. I wasn't awake. I didn't know what was going on. This Joker was crazy. This Joker, no doubt, was crazy. But you know who else was crazy? Keith. Let me tell you, we're going to have a conversation with Keith until everybody else comes on. But let me tell you who else was crazy, Keith. Since it's you and I, Keith, we're talking. Give me a second. Keith, let me tell you who else was crazy. Our community. Our community. I know everybody's looking at it a Dahmer thing like, oh my God, Dahmer. I wasn't looking at it that way. I was like, well, goddamn, we nutty. Shit. He was normal. We was nutty. Because we know damn well, Keith, let's just have an honest conversation. Everybody else just listen in for a second. And I'm going to get into this a little bit later, Keith, a little bit later. But let's just have me and you, we're going to have an honest conversation. Now, you know good and well, there are crazy people that move into our communities all the time, and we ignore them. We ignore them. We know they're crazy. We just tell our kids, don't go to that man's house. If that man try to ask you to come play some video games while you play with his dog, I'll give you some candy. Tell him no. Run away from him. Come to me. This is what we tell. We crazy, right? We crazy. And I'm using the word crazy loosely. So I know some of you guys, y'all get all serious about the word crazy and stuff. Y'all be like, oh, no, she said crazy. She's a therapist. I'm going to report her. Because some of y'all are, extra. But I don't mean it in that way. I'm saying that we have to sit down, in my opinion, Keith, and we have to check ourselves that people can just come in our community and do crazy things and we relying on the cops. Like it's Keith, don't get me started, Keith. Don't get me started. But let me go ahead and get started. So I have all you guys in. I suspect by now you guys have shared the video. I suspect by now you guys have subscribed to the channel. You have given the video a thumbs up. If you are on Facebook, you are liking and following the channel. I suspect that. But if you are not, let's just have the conversation. Maybe at the end of the conversation, you will subscribe to the channel and you will like and follow the channel if you are on Facebook, right? So let's have this conversation. Just in case y'all don't know, Netflix decided, in all of their glory, to find another money-making opportunity when they came up with the Dahmer series, right? The monster, recovering the Jeffrey Dahmer story. And I started to watch the story only a few days ago because I like psychological things and I thought it was intriguing, to be honest with you. Not intriguing in a good way. I thought it was intriguing on many different levels. There's so much mixed into this series that I said, ooh, I was a kid when it came out. Let me see it now as an adult with the kind of lens that I have, looking at the world and looking at how my community interacts with the world here in America. So I said, let me look at it. Now, for those of you guys who may not know, Jeffrey Dahmer, he was vicious. He was a monster, and the title serves him correctly. He was a monster. He was a cannibalistic monster, and he ate people. See, they will tell you that he killed people from 1978 to 1991, which is roughly 13 years. They would say the nice way of saying is that he killed people. He was a serial killer. But the Dr. Shonna way is to tell the truth, right? We tell the truth. And I would say he ate people for 13 years. Okay, maybe he didn't eat all his victims for 13 years, but for the most part, he was a cannibal. He lived a cannibalistic life for 13 years and he was eating people. Now, those of you guys who don't know, he started off first or initially in his community eating people, but that wasn't, or at least killing people, that wasn't as fruitful or successful because his grandmama was on him like white on rice, right? His daddy knew he had problems. His stepmama knew he had problems. His mama knew he had problems. The people he went to school with knew he had problems. The U.S. Army knew he had problems. His high school students and classmates and peers knew he had problems. The people he worked for knew he had problems. Everybody knew this man had problems when he was in his community. So he decided to leave his community. But according to Dahmer, he left his community because he couldn't afford to live in his community, according to Dahmer. So that's why he came into our community, according to Dahmer. But we all know in our community, he left his community because it was getting too close to home, and people will really look for their families. Come on, we about to get into this family. I hope y'all waking up. People will really look for their family members in his community. See, you can't go missing in certain communities, and there's no missing person search committee out there, right? With all the canine dogs, all the police officers, people will look for you. People will look for you in other communities, right? They will search high and low. The police will be involved in 2.5 seconds, right? If somebody ran out of his house in his community, talking about he trying to kill me, and they butt behind naked, in his community, the police would be in there. They'll be searching his place. He would have been arrested on the spot, right? So he had to leave. He had to leave to come into our community because our community is filled with people who are highly invisible. Let that sink in for a second. But I want to make sure I'm very cautious of how we have this conversation tonight for Mental Health Fridays as it relates to Jeffrey Dahmer, right? I want to be very cautious about that because I am sensitive to the families that are victims of his cannibalistic ways. They're victims, and I want to try to be as sensitive as possible, not to re-traumatize these families, because I understand those of us who are communicating about this, Netflix putting it on, major media sites talking about it on the internet. A lot of people are having a conversation about the Dahmer show because you watch it, it's very intriguing. It's like, what the fuck? Oh, Lord. I have to watch this thing in segments. I mean, in segments, I'm like, woo, Lord. Right? In segments, I have to watch it. So I understand that this scenario is very traumatizing for people. So I'm trying to be as sensitive as possible, but I have to talk the truth. I have to put truth to power. And there's a lot of controversy around this topic. There's a lot of families that are really upset at the fact that this series has been released and is making them feel like they're going through the same scenario over again. And I have to, I don't know about you all, but I'm talking about me. I have to respect that. I have to respect that. So I'm trying not to focus too much on that. But we need to have a conversation, right? We need to have a conversation about this Joker because he's an animal. He's most definitely an animal, and that should not be ignored, right? It really shouldn't be ignored. And we also need to have a conversation about this animal because in my opinion, this kind of stuff with Dahmer was able to go on because in more ways than not, we allowed it. We allowed it. We allowed it. That's what I'm saying. Now, I know some of y'all are not going to believe that, but let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. We're upset. Some people in our community are upset about this animal. This guy who was eating people, this guy who was going into Black communities, targeting Black people, eating Black people, chopping off the heads of Black people, taking photos of dismembered bodies of Black people, living in a building filled with Black people that the cops ignored. This guy, Jeffrey Dahmer, this is what he did. We understand that he was able to come into our community to do that because we're so loving, in my opinion. We're such a loving community. And we know that some people that move into our community, we're not sure why they move into our community, right? We're not sure why they do it, but they do. So how do we find out that this guy was eating people, despite the fact that Glenda Clever, like y'all know who that is? Let me show y'all who Glenda is. Give me a second. Let me bring Glenda up on the scene because I think that it's important for us to recognize who she is, right? It's important for us to recognize who she is and the role that she played in bringing Jeffrey Dahmer into the light so he could be arrested. Black woman, right? It's important for us to know who she is. But Glenda Cover lived in a building that Jeffrey Dahmer rented his apartment in. Right? She was played by Niecy Nash, I think her name is. But nonetheless, she lived in the same building. This woman, they even have recordings of her calling the police department, has called the police department a number of times, not only about the smell that was coming from his apartment, but letting them know that something was not right in his building. And they treated her as though she wasn't important. They treated her like she was invisible. They treated her like she didn't know what she was talking about. In essence, they told her to mind her business. She knew that things was not right in that apartment because she heard thumps, she heard screaming. She, in fact, even saw one of the victims of Jeffrey Dahmer get away. He was Tracy Edwards. So if you're not familiar with who Tracy Edwards is, I'll be more than happy to show you his picture. But Tracy Edwards is a guy who got away for Jeffrey Dahmer, right? He was a guy who Jeffrey Dahmer was telling him that he was going to eat his heart after he was hearing his heartbeat. He was letting him know that he was going to be his next victim. He done put handcuffs on this man. He had this man, according to the video, according to the movie, he had this man scared out of his damn mind. Do you hear what I'm saying? This man got away, ran down the hallway, telling people to call the cops. This man was trying to kill him. The cops pick him up, bring him back to the apartment, and the cops were still skeptical to go into the apartment of this blonde hair, blue-eyed man who seemed to be calm, cool, and collected. They were so afraid to go into his apartment because they didn't want to accuse him of doing anything odd. They get into his apartment, they smell his apartment, they ask for the key to the handcuffs that was on this guy that you see on the screen. Maybe is this way, right? But however you see him, I don't know which way you see this guy, whatever. But they asked for the key to his handcuffs, and they discovered pictures of dismembered bodies. They discovered the skull that he kept in the refrigerator. They discovered a container that had acid and body parts in it. They discovered that this man was killing people, and they saw that Tracy Edwards was correct. Now, of course, Glenda is getting upset about it. Glenda's in the hallway. Glenda is creating a scene now because she had been calling the cops for some time, telling them that this man was up to no goddamn good and that somebody had to come out there. Now, let me pause for a second. Right? Somebody said, dang, I'm going to have to watch this show. I don't know much about this crazy human eater. Oh, baby, you better watch this show because I'm about to give you something that you guys are going to eat on. But I'm giving you the history of the show. But I'm about to give you some food to eat on, right? A different way of thinking about this. But there's a lot of Glendas in our communities where we know for a fact that something ain't right. We see the person. See, so many of you guys, in my opinion, now this is not the opinion of YouTube, this is my opinion. So many of you guys are afraid of calling people how they are. Like I'm not afraid to call people how I see them. See, we say that racial profiling is wrong. This is what a lot of people say, right? You shouldn't be able to racially profile anybody. It's discriminatory, it's prejudice, it's wrong. We shouldn't be able to do that. But I think, and I got to be careful of my words, but I'm going to tell y'all the truth of how I feel, right? Y'all can write me an email about it if you want to, but I'm going to tell you the truth about how I feel. I feel that in some instances, not all, but some instances, we need to use some better judgment. You can call it racial profile. You can call it wisdom. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But we need to use some better judgment. Now, I know this is going to sound kind of discriminatory. I get it. But I'm just saying, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. There was nothing normal about Dahmer. There was nothing normal. Now, I'm not saying you got to take the man down because he comes into the neighborhood and he wears a long black trench coat in 95-degree weather. No, Dahmer didn't do that per se, but I'm just saying, I'm not saying you see somebody like that, they're automatically doing something. But what I'm saying to you is you ought to be on alert, right? You ought to be on alert. If Jeffrey Dahmer comes into your community, somebody like him, and he looks kind of like he doesn't blend in and something is wrong with him and he's communicating oddly and the smells from his apartment is causing you to be nauseous, is something wrong with that. Yes, somebody said he stuck out like a sore thumb. He absolutely did. Glenda knew that he was wrong. So why didn't the police take Glenda seriously? I'm just asking y'all a question. I'm not making any assumptions. I'm just asking you a question. Hold on a second. Pause, family, because we see somebody here. Somebody says, too many commas, you lost me. Christopher, what are you talking about? What commas are you talking about? As a matter of fact, family, let's put a pause for a second because we're going to take Christopher's complaint seriously, right? We're gonna take his complaint seriously because maybe I'm doing something that's confusing him. But are any of you guys lost, or is it just Christopher? And don't just say it's just Christopher's if it's not. If you're lost, let me know when you're lost so I can back up and help you to understand. But are you guys lost with what I'm saying? Because Christopher seems to be lost of what I'm saying. Perhaps Christopher is not able to read between lines, that some things cannot be said on YouTube, so y'all gotta pick up where you're at, right? You gotta read between the lines. But it's okay, all right. Okay, so I got people saying they following me. Okay, somebody else is not lost. Okay, all right. Somebody says I'm following you. Okay, I'm just making sure. Nope, not lost. Okay, okay. He says I'm just not. I'm just. We don't know. Okay, so maybe the Black Power flag that he have is not Black Power, and if it is, he might. Okay, I was gonna say something rude, but I can't say nothing rude because people of Jeffrey Dahmer's family may not find my rudeness appropriate. So let's go back. So Glenda, she knew what was going on. And that's the thing. A lot of us in our communities, we know what's going on, but we don't do what's necessary. We're calling the cops. We're hoping the cops is going to come through and do something different. But the cops, obviously, in this situation, they came through and they didn't do anything differently because here it is, this blonde head, blue-eyed man is living in our community. It can't be him. It must be y'all. Leave him alone. Y'all bothering him. He's innocent. Meanwhile, he's eating people. Right? He's eating people. Meanwhile, he's just having a ball, picking up one dude after another, just eating people, chopping their heads off, taking their hearts out, one person after another. And Glenda and other people like Glenda are the problems. Right? Right? Listen, I want to talk about a few things here. Somebody said it was a poor Black community, so they simply dismissed what she said. There's a lot of Glendas in our community. Let me tell you something. I don't know about y'all, how y'all grew up, but my mother was a Glenda. May she rest in peace. My mother was the person when she knew something wasn't right. When she knew somebody was getting their behind beat, when she knew somebody was selling drugs in the building, when she knew somebody was up to no good. My mother was the person that I used to be so embarrassed of her because she didn't care who it was. She was going to tell the cops, she was going to tell the news people, she was going to tell everybody what went down. My mother was that kind of person because she took her building seriously. I think they need more people like my mother and Glenda present because too many people in our community, we mind our business. We mind our business. And I think about it all the time as I'm about to go on with the story. I'm going to tell you my points I take away. I think about it all the time when it comes to minding our own business. I think that stuff has to have its boundaries. I don't think it should be applicable to everything. When we talk about minding our business, sometimes the most heinous things goes on in our communities, and we're all gun-ho for minding our business that people's lives are being taken. See, we're looking at Jeffrey Dahmer's story as a 1978 to 1991 situation. We're not really looking at it at right now. There are a lot of Black girls and Black boys missing, and a lot of us are still minding our businesses. We're still minding our business. We don't want to get involved in those kind of things. See, when I think about the story like Jeffrey Dahmer, and I think about how we get upset, community, I'm talking to y'all community for a second. We get upset about all the boys and girls in our community who are missing, and we don't really do anything about it. I hear so many people, believe it or not, I hear so many people make comments about, well, if their mama don't care, if their daddy don't care, listen, I'm not about to say anything and have one of those little kids pop off of me. I'm not about to do it. Listen, that's not my business. Who am I to tell these little girls that they can't be talking to? Who am I to say something about these little boys that they can't be? This is the stuff that we say out of our mouths. And this is why situations like Jeffrey Dahmer was possible. Don't look at this situation as a 1978 to 1991 situation. It's still happening to this day. Our community to this day is a target. You can take little black boys, little black girls out of our communities to this day. To this day. Go missing, and who's creating a search team for them? Who's trying to find out what happens to these little boys and these little girls? Who's caring enough to say something is not right? So here's what I learned watching the Jeffrey Dahmer series. I got 2 more episodes and I'm over with it, right? But here's what I learned. There are so many injustices faced by Black and brown people every single day. This man knew that he could not get away with these crimes in his community, and he had to come to our community to make it happen. See, when he was having his conversation with the Milwaukee Police Department, let's give the donkey of the day to the Milwaukee Police Department. A big shout out to the Milwaukee Police Department, who has earned themselves the title of Donkey of the Day for being retarded, with all due respect. This is the police department that has returned a naked 14-year-old boy back to Jeffrey Dahmer's care, because they believe this blonde-haired, blue-eyed man that said that this 14-year-old boy was his boyfriend, despite the fact that Glenda, the neighbor, was telling them that this boy is not speaking, he's bleeding. That should be a sign automatically for emergency care. This boy was bleeding. This boy was returned back to Jeffrey Dahmer's care because this blonde-haired, blue-eyed man said that he was his lover, and the cops believed him. The cops believed him in the midst of him being in this Black community, that this guy has to be telling the truth. And they gave his victim back to him and allowed Jeffrey Dahmer to finish the job. And the reason why that was possible, because in our community, the cops do not take us seriously. The cops do not take our brothers and sisters in our community seriously. People would like to tell you differently, but you and I know, both having the experience, both have lived inside our own community, we know that we are not taken seriously. We call the cops and we say something is not right, they diminish us immediately. Now, I know some of y'all, not all, some of y'all going to say the reason why the Milwaukee police dismissed it wasn't because they were Black. I get it. I get it. A lot of y'all listen to me for so many different communities, so many different cultures, backgrounds, races, ethnicities. I get it. I get it. Even Black folk. There's some people that share the same melanin, but we're not the same. We're all different, and it's no disrespect to that. We're not the same. But there's some people that share the melanin with us, and they would even say, you guys want to make this all about a race thing. This is not a race thing. In fact, he was targeting gay men. He was targeting gay men. This is not a race thing. This is a gay thing. But I would have to say to you all, even though I understand how you arrived to that, but I would like to say to you all, in my precious opinion, that the LGBTQ community does not agree with you. Now, I agree with you to some degree, but they don't agree with you, because this community says, take that tag, the LGBTQ plus tag, off of your series, because I do not want to search for LGBTQ movies and programs and find the Dahmer show. This has nothing to do with us. And why is that the case? Why is it that they can remove the LGBTQ tag from Netflix and have a problem with it and say it does not belong to their community? Why are they able to do that? Almost everybody that this man has murdered and eaten, he met in gay bars. But they're saying that this has nothing to do with their community. So please remove it. Please remove it. Now, I told you I want to talk to you about the things that I noticed in this film. And the first thing that I brought up was the injustices that Black and brown people face. Not only in this movie, it highlights the injustices that Black and brown people face as it relates to the police department and law enforcement and criminal justice system. It also highlights how somebody from the outside, the others, whatever the others are, I'm giving you guys common language, but the others can come into Black and brown communities, stay under the radar, rape you, kill you, rob you, steal from you. Don't think that, don't listen, baby. They can come and do all of that. The cops can knock on their doors. They can smile and say, there's no problem here. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm an innocent person just living amongst the people for diversity. Everyone can hide under the umbrella of diversity and be eating you and killing you. But what I find quite interesting, in my opinion, is that the LGBTQ community can say, remove that tag because whatever is happening don't have nothing to do with us. This is not our situation. You can't associate this with our community. But why not? Why not? And I'm asking a serious question because, in my opinion, and maybe you guys can educate me, because listen, I'm the student as well. I'm the teacher and I'm the student. Maybe you all can educate me, but in my community, and I don't shun out my community of those who identify as LGBTQR plus. I don't shun them out of me. I don't know what you guys do. Whatever you do is your business, but I don't do that. So when I look at it, their plight in our community needs to be a part of our plight because they share the same likeness with me. That's how I look at it. So why would you now say take that tag off the me? So you're trying to tell me that Black LGBTQ community don't matter? I'm just kind of confused. I'm asking a question. I'm not making an assumption. I'm asking a question because many of these men were found in bars and other public venues that are tailored to the LGBTQ community. So that's where he picked them up at. So now you telling me this is not a part of your story and to take that tag off? Please help me to understand why. Do Black LGBTQ communities not matter? I'm just asking a question. I'm really trying to find out because for me, they're still my brothers and sisters and they matter. So that's yet again, another injustice that is faced by many people in our community. See, I'm not somebody who's going to separate them. They're all a part of it. So once again, it wasn't good enough to have the tag because it didn't have nothing to do with them. Or he was going to eat up and kill Black gay people. Please take that tag off. Don't tag this as an LGBTQ film because it is not. But I thought, and this is just my opinion, but I thought under the umbrella of civil rights, since many people have been using that as their spade in their pocket to further their agenda, to further their goals politically, you've been using the civil rights agenda to include LGBTQ populations. Why is that not falling under it? Somebody said they're not my people, Doc. Who's not your people? I want to have this conversation. Are you telling me that people in our community who are of the melanated tone and complexion is not your people? I just want to make sure I really understand what you're saying, because I need to take a break right now. Just for this right now. So you and I, G23, you and I, we're going to have a conversation right now. Just you and I, nobody else. Y'all pause for just a second, because I want to make sure I understand what he is saying. When you say they're not your people, are you saying those in our community who are LGBTQ is not your people? Is that what you're saying to me? I'm trying to understand it, and I don't want to make any assumptions. Let me know. I'm going to pause so you let me know what you mean when you say they're not your people. Because I want to make sure, because see, people get to do whatever they want to do with their lifestyle. But what I'm saying to you, just in case you're not familiar, what I'm saying to you is another injustice that I pick up in this show, aside from the police ignoring Glenda's complaints, aside from a young boy flagging down a police only to be returned to his killer, aside from Tracy Edwards running through the street. We're going to get to Tracy because, the story ain't finished with him. Aside from Tracy running through the streets, getting the cops and coming back, and that ultimately got Dahmer locked up. Aside from all of that, we do have this component that he targeted gay black men. So are you telling me that gay black men are not your people? If that's what you tell me, you're not coming back on. I was hoping you was going to come on and have this conversation with me. I was hoping you was going to have this conversation with me, because I think that's an important conversation. Let me tell you why I think that's an important conversation. Let me say that. Because a lot of you be faking the funk, with all due respect. A lot of you all be faking the funk, with all due respect. So many of you all have members in your family who are same sex, that are your children, that are your nieces, your nephews, your brothers, your sisters, and I'm going to get this to you too, your mothers, and you come on YouTube and you want to be keyboard gangsters and you want to start demeaning them and diminishing the role that they play in the community and say they're not your people. I'm so sick and tired of y'all that do that. With all due respect, some of y'all got gay children and you come in here and you say stupid shit like that. It really bothers me. It really bothers me that y'all do that. Because nobody really wants to talk about the truth of how colorful our community is. And that's what bothers me. What people do behind closed doors ain't my business. But I'm going to tell you what is my business. When someone is coming into my community, targeting my people, that is my business. And I don't care what you have to say about me or what you feel about me. Say whatever you want to say, but it's disgusting, because the same people that got a lot of stuff to say got children, mamas, fathers, daddies, uncles, everybody under that same umbrella, but y'all act like y'all perfect. Here's another one. Let me address this other person before I move on with my conversation. A couple of weeks ago, you were saying don't defund the police and we need them so bad. And now you're saying how they ignore black interests. See, let me educate you, okay, for a minute. I stand with my position. When you remove the police from many of our communities, there will be increased crimes. You know why it's going to be increased crimes? I'm going to tell you why. Because we don't do a good enough job policing our own communities. Some of y'all are scared of the same criminals that are vandalizing and terrorizing your communities, and y'all don't say nothing and you don't do anything. Okay? And it doesn't take away the fact that there is injustice in the police departments and other government agencies, including Child Protection Services. It doesn't take that away. So I never said that they were without blame or fault. I said that the goal is not to defund them. That's what I said. So let's not get it twisted. See, I hate when you come with these stupid dichotomous thinking. It's like it's either or, black or white. Why do y'all do things like that? Why do y'all do things like that? Why do y'all do things like that? You're trying to conflate issues. Why can't both of these things exist? Why can't we be real that we do still need police presence, and we also need to correct the racism and the injustice in our police stations within our communities? Why can't they both be true? See, some of y'all just don't get it. Y'all so dichotomous in your thinking, it's either or. That's a small way of thinking. That's a small mind. But I'm not going to let you get me off topic, right? I wanted to address that for just a moment because you got to think bigger than that. You got to think bigger than that. I just don't understand how some people you're just, ooh, this is why I don't come live as much as anymore, because I'm dealing with so many people. Doesn't take away the fact that our communities still face injustices every day. It doesn't take away that fact. It doesn't take away the fact that somebody can come into our community and pretty much fly under the radar and do all types of illegal things in our community and go unnoticed. We see that all the time. Jeffrey Dahmer ain't new. It ain't new. I'm talking about the invisibility of the black gay population. That's what I'm talking about. You bringing up police issues. So, but we don't want to have the conversation about the invisibility of the black gay population in our community. That you can do whatever you want to do to the black gay population too, and then the LGBTQ that fights for everybody else says that's not part of us. That's not part of us. That's not part of us. He was able to do what he was able to do because he knew this population would not be protected people. This population wasn't going to make headlines. It wasn't going to make the news. We see that currently in 2022. There are so many black youth, women, men, same sex, heterosexual, doesn't matter. We see so many of them victimized, kidnapped, sold into trafficking, and nobody gives it any attention. Nobody puts together a search team to find them. You can come into our communities and do just about anything. Because although we are highly visible people because of melanin of our skin, we are invisible to society. And that's exactly why he was able to do what he was able to do, because we are invisible to society. And here some of us are, not all of us, but some of us are. We want to have conversations over things that don't freaking matter. I'm looking at this like, damn, this is a lesson to tell us that another lesson, not a lesson, another lesson to tell us that we need to move strategically. Strategically. It doesn't matter. Anybody can come into our community, open up shop, and eat your children, eat your wives, eat your husbands, bash your grandma over the head, sleep in a bed with her dead body. Anybody can come into our communities and do whatever the hell they want to do. And because we're so committed to minding our business, these things go unnoticed. Our communities are havens for monsters. And you know why our communities are havens for monsters, in my opinion, is because we have such a high attraction. Check this out, y'all. Somebody said, Lord, not grandma. You already know it. I can give y'all some stories. I see it. Or people send me all the articles. I just choose not to talk about them. What are people will kill your grandmama? Because we don't check on our grandmamas anymore. We don't treat our elders how we used to treat them in our communities. Let me tell you something. At the elders' house, At the elders' house in our communities, we used to we used to have Sunday dinners. We used to check on them. We used to make sure our grandmamas and our grandpas and our older aunties and uncles were never alone. Now, how many of us check on our grandparents? So, yes, the grandmas too. People could come into our communities, bash them over the head, and the grandma's kids won't even come check on them for months on end. The neighbors ain't going to knock on the door because everybody mind their business. Right? I'm just telling y'all, right? Somebody said the stats and facts don't lie. They don't lie. They don't lie. Right? There's T. James said, and serial killers are smart and nobody's looking. Nobody's looking at them whatsoever. They can come in. Y'all could see somebody come and push their way into your grandma's apartment, and the neighbor's going to say, I thought that was her home health worker. I thought that was their home health care worker. I had no idea she was killing people and eating people. Because ain't nobody checking in anymore. Ain't nobody checking in anymore. Right? Somebody said no one's looking at criminals. Nobody's looking. Criminals are smart, just overlooked. Just overlooked. They right next door to you. They watching what you're doing. They watching what time you come into your house, what time you leave your house. They watching who of your children going to open their mouth and who of your children ain't going to say nothing. They know who to molest. They know who to kidnap. They know who to eat. Trust me when I say it. Our communities are havens for monsters. But we have this mindset, right? Somebody said it, blind-eyed. We have this mindset that we're going to mind our business. We're going to mind our business. We ain't going to get involved with none of that stuff, right? We're not going to get involved. That's right, Queen L. The point is we are very vulnerable. We are a vulnerable community. Nobody want to talk about it, but everybody want to talk about the nonsense, right? Everybody's a queen and a king, but nobody have queen and king power. That's the craziest thing. That's the craziest thing to me. But when I tell you our communities are havens for monsters, some of us comes up with so many other excuses to ignore what the hell I'm saying. I'll tell you right now, you think this is a joke? I'll tell you right now, your child go missing. Let's see how many of your neighbors are going to gather together to find your child. And meanwhile, the person that kidnapped your child is going to help you looking for your child, just like a crackhead, right? Going to help you to look for your missing child. Meanwhile, your child is in the closet in a suitcase, dead. And ain't nobody even going to notice it. Ain't nobody. See, that's what I was looking at when I was watching this show, when I was watching this movie. That's what I was looking at. I was like, damn, this dude, back to back. There was a dude in his apartment back to back, and the only person that was making noise was Glenda. And Glenda was the only person that they looked at that was crazy. Right? Here it is, this loudmouth black woman always got something to say. If she don't keep her funky behind the closed doors and mind her damn business, always calling the cops, always got something to say. This is how they looked at Glenda. Meanwhile, your child is in his bedroom with a hammer to his head, drugs to keep him immobile, and a drill to the back of his skull to make sure he don't get up and walk ever again. That's the craziest thing to me. But we get mad about this kind of stuff. I understand that the victims, the families of the victims, don't want us to have these kind of conversation. I try to respect that. But this is a conversation that needs to be had because so many of us still ignore the fact that this still goes on in our community. When you see a sign put up in your community about another missing black boy or black girl in your community, what do? Besides, I'm gonna pray for them because your prayers ain't working. What else do you do? right? Here's another reason why our communities become havens for monster. Here's another reason. I know some of y'all ain't ready to hear this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Another reason why our communities become havens for monsters, ready? Is because in our communities, with all due respect, we have an attraction to others, right? We don't want to say it, but we have an attraction to others. I'm going to say it again, right? We have an attraction to others. What do y'all think I mean when I say that? Somebody says, what's crazy is nowadays with gentrification, a weird white person won't stand out in our neighborhood anymore. Let me tell you something beautiful. In 1978 to 1991, that weird white person didn't stand out either. See, that's what leads me to that same comment I just made, that we have an attraction to others in our communities. In 1978 to 1991, this man was looking crazy as all hell. Did y'all see him? I'm not talking about in the movies. Did y'all go back and watch the previous news reports or true crime TV? Did you go back and watch the previous videos? Did you see how crazy he looked? And he was just invisible in our community. We just ignored it. And this is Milwaukee. I can understand New York City because an alien can get on a train in New York City and we would ignore it. We'd be like, nigga, that stupid ass alien, stupid ass. He think he gonna get my seat. He ain't gonna get my seat. Okay, we do that to the aliens in New York City. But Milwaukee, why is it that he was able to come up in that community? We can't just say because gentrification, weird white people come in and we ignore it. No, we was doing that before gentrification because we have this crazy attraction toward others. Why is that? Why do we like others to enter into our community? Why do we like to be associated with others? Thank you, Queen L. She says there are monsters in our community that look like us too. You ain't never lying. You ain't never lying. But think about it. Why are we so attracted to others? It's for some reason when we see an other in our community and they're our neighbor, they live across the street, they go to our school, for some reason we have this attraction to that. I'm just asking. I'm just curious. And maybe I'm the only one that's bold enough to ask that question. And the reason why I say this, let me tell you the reason why I say this. Because let me tell you something. I have lived in our communities and I have lived in others' communities, right? In others' communities, I mind my business and they mind my business. Did y'all catch that? Let me slow it down for the people in the back that didn't hear me. I know some people gonna get offended. Don't get in your feelings. Let's just hear this, right? I have lived in our community, and I stand out like a sore throat in our community. And I have lived in the others' communities, and I stand out like a sore throat in the others' community. But here's the thing. When I'm in the others' community, I, Dr. Shonna, I mind my business, and they mind my business. The others mind my business. See, we don't tend to do that in our community. When the others move into our community, we mind our business and we ignore them too. We just like, I don't see him that much. And we ignore ourselves. I mean, he seemed cute. He seemed cool. Oh, they're all right. They're down. They're not like the others. They're different. Next thing you know, their kids in our house, and then our kids is in their house. And we just trust the process. But when they are watching us in their community, they don't trust the process. See, you could be outside on the porch that you own in their community, and they'll call the cops on you. Because even though you live in their community, they always look at you as an outsider to their community. You're not welcome there. Even in 2022, you are not welcome there. So my question is, why are we so comfortable with the strangers in our community, but when we go to their communities, they're not comfortable with us there and they watch us? Right? Same thing. Say we always trying to be accepted by others and bring them to the barbecue. We always want to say, listen, we watching the game tonight. You want to come upstairs, you and your husband come upstairs. We bring them right into our house. So you got to be careful with that kind of energy you bring into your house. Just like when Dahmer walked into Glenda's apartment in the movie. What did Dahmer say to Glenda when he walked into her apartment in the movies? Are your daughters here? They watch everything you do. Everything you do. They watch everything you do. I'm just saying, I'm not telling you all to racially profile people that come into your community, especially if your community is under gentrification. I'm telling you not to be comfortable. That's all I'm saying, is not to be comfortable. That's all I'm saying, not to be comfortable. We get so comfortable. See, I noticed that. I lived in Asian communities and they watch. They watch. They know what time I leave, what time I come back. And they don't care to have a conversation with me. Trust me. They don't care to have a conversation with me. Only they want to be nosy, because the only questions they may not be able to answer is, what kind of work do you do? They look at everything. You living in this community, you driving that vehicle. I want to know what you do. You a rapper? You a singer? What you do? They want to know what I do. That's the only conversation they have with me. They're nosy conversations, right? The conversations are always nosy. What do you do? Oh, that's your daughter? What school your daughter go to? Your daughter not here no more. Your daughter in college? They're nosy. Nosy. But can we be nosy? Right? Can we be nosy? You're right. They know when you home. They know when you're not home. They'll tell you must have been on vacation. I had somebody tell me, oh, I didn't see you in a while. You must have been on vacation. The heifer don't never say nothing to me. Don't never say hello, good morning, good night, but you know I'm on vacation. I'm just telling y'all. You need to step your game up. You need to be nosy too. When you see a young woman or a young man leaving their house, you need to know who their parents are. You need to watch what they do. If you see them in a neighborhood that ain't familiar, it's not your neighborhood. Maybe you on a bus or maybe you driving by and you notice that person from your block. You need to be nosy. But we're so afraid of being nosy. We want to say, not my business. Oh, I seen her daughter get off the bus today. It wasn't in this community, but I just mind my business. I ain't getting involved in that because some parents don't want to hear it. This is what we do. Meanwhile, they're eating your kids. Meanwhile, they sex trafficking your kids into another country because you don't want to get involved. There's one thing I learned by living in the communities I live in: you get nosy. You get nosy. I had to learn how to be nosy because I was so conditioned to mind my business. And see, when they know that we're going to mind our business, it's easy to infiltrate your community and do whatever they want to do to you because they know you're going to mind your business. It's easy to target your kids because they know that everybody's going to mind their business when they see them putting your kid in their car. Everybody going to mind their business. It's easy to do. Not in their neighborhood. You come up, Mary, come on in. I'm going to take you to get ice cream. Oh, no. Oh, no. Bob and Dick is coming across the street. Excuse me. Who are you? Mary, get out the car. Do you know him, Mary? Get out the car, Mary. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Let me see your license. They're not even cops asking for license and registration because you are different. They don't know you and they haven't seen you, but they know Mary and they know Mary's parents and they never seen you. So they got to verify that Mary can get in your car. But in our community, we just let it happen. We just let it happen. So what is this attraction we have toward the others? Oh, let me bring up another attraction. I know you ain't gonna like to hear it. No matter what community, if a crime is being committed, it should be brought to out to all lives matter. No, baby, stop right there. Stop right there. Stop right there. See, I'm not saying that what you're saying in theory doesn't make sense. I'm not saying that. In theory, what you are saying makes sense. But theory and practice are two different things. Let's not pretend. See, we can't get on here and start pretending. That's the stuff that really bothers me. That's what tickles my fancy is when we like to pretend that everything is a perfect world. Everything is a perfect world. No, 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 baby. Everything is not a perfect world. And we got to understand what really happened. See, we always try to diminish things. Well, it shouldn't happen in any community. But baby, it does. It does. Right? Game Changer says, I'm very nosy. My neighbors hate me, even the old people. But I don't care. I have a child, and you shouldn't care. You shouldn't care. Right? You shouldn't care. But we can't pretend that it shouldn't matter. Every community should do that. We gotta stop diminishing culture and social conditions that happen. Those things are very real. See, people are socially conditioned in certain communities to be nosy and to make sure that people who don't belong are not there. That is a social conditioning. And then when you go into certain communities that has an attraction and an affinities for others, they're not socially conditioned to do that. I don't know why. And I just want to talk to you guys for a second. I don't know why with me highlighting that, why that bothers people. Why does that bother people? When we highlight the truth and the differences, why does that really bother people? Just asking. This person says we lack community cohesion now, and therefore outsiders can come in without anyone batting an eye. We have been lacking community cohesion for a long time. It's not just our. It's not just our. See, I'm gonna say this and I'm moving on. I'm almost done, y'all. I'm almost done because my hair is turning gray now. I can't do it anymore. But I'm gonna say this. We say we lack community cohesion now. I think when our movement of Black love and Black power was dismantled, community cohesion went along with it. So that was a long time ago, baby. We talk about 40 years. That's a long time ago. And we have been taught and conditioned to be so accepting of everybody else. We are the ones that we're so excited, so excited to say we got, oh no, my friend is Indian, my friend is Korean, my friend is Irish, my friend is Italian, my friend is Puerto Rican, my friend. We are so conditioned to be so excited about everybody else coming into our homes and our community, but do the same thing apply when the shoe is on the other foot? Okay. I know people don't like to talk about this, and we're not going to get into it tonight. But I'm just putting it out there, and I see it all the time. I see it all the time. I always ask white acquaintances and white associates, and I ask them a question. I always want to know. Y'all know I'm a researcher. I'm always going to want to know how often do your Black friends and family sleep over, come to your cookouts, come to your birthday parties? Not your weddings, right? Because they'll invite you to a wedding. They like to show their diversity. They're going to invite you to a wedding, but in your intimate circle, how often do your Black friends take part of that? And when I make people think about it, most of them is not often. Most of, not all, but most of them is not often. So we got to stop making it seem like, oh, we're all the same. No, we're not. It's okay. I don't want to be like you, and I don't want you to be like me. We're not all the same. Right? Somebody said, it's not racial profiling because it's not because he's white. It's because of his suspicious behavior. Nothing wrong with that. And let me ask you a question, Empress. Now we're gonna have a conversation. Y'all gonna have to pause in a second before I get on out of here. Let me ask Empress a question for a second, if she's willing to dialogue with me, because the last person was not. So Empress, are you telling me if a white person moved into an all-black, lower income community and they became suspicious because he was white, are you telling me, I'm just curious, that would be wrong? Are you saying that you shouldn't be suspicious because he's white? Are you saying that? I'm just asking a question. I'm not telling anybody to think any particular way. I'm asking a question. If a white person moved into an all-black community, are you saying if you became suspicious because he's white, that would be wrong? I'm asking that question. Just as it is. We're not going to go around the bush. We're not going to try to bring other factors into it. We're just going to answer that question as it is. If a white person moved into an all-black community and we became curious or suspicious because he was white, would that be wrong? I'm just asking a question, Empress. Just asking a question. We're going to wait for Empress to respond. We're going to end it this way. Right? Somebody said, I would be suspicious if he or she did not have a black partner. Okay. Okay. Somebody says, in a way, yeah. Okay. In a way, yeah. All right. Somebody says, I'm suspicious of everyone at this point, but especially non-black folk. Okay. All right. Somebody said maybe if he was also low income. Tell me more, Desiree. Tell me more, Desiree, because I'm not sure I understand. Somebody else says, yeah, it's profiling. Be the same if a black person moves close to me. Their suspicious behavior would make me suspicious. It is profiling, right? So the question isn't CR3D. The question is it profiling? The question is it wrong? Is it wrong? That's the question. Is it wrong? Somebody says, hell, I'd be suspicious nowadays. Somebody says, well, yes, when you put it like that, yes, suspicious, right? This is what I'm saying. We got to just be honest with the conversation. We got to be, okay, somebody else said it's wrong if you act on it. So the thought alone is not wrong, only if you act on it. So I'm just saying, as a clinician, I'm just saying. You're saying only if you act on it. But in some schools of thought, we believe that thoughts motivate behavior. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm being too clinical. But we believe that thoughts motivate behavior. So you're saying the thought is not wrong, just the behavior. I'm just saying. Somebody says not wrong, but definitely concerned. See, this is the thing right here. This is why a lot of y'all get got, in my opinion. This is why a lot of y'all get got. This is why I'm going to say it again. This is why a lot of y'all get got, because y'all get too comfortable believing the narratives that they be giving you. Y'all get too comfortable. Y'all become relaxed. And you think like, oh, it's so wrong because this person says it's wrong. Oh, it's so wrong because that person says it's wrong. Oh, it's so wrong. But the truth is, I'm not going to say it's right And I'm not going to say it's wrong. I'm saying you better follow your senses. You better follow your gut. You better be on guard. That's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to get comfortable for anybody. I'm not going to be comfortable for, you better be on. See, the thing is, some of y'all get so comfortable. And then you wonder why you get taken for a ride. And I keep trying to tell you all to keep your heads on swivels. You got to keep your head on a swivel in your own community, and you got to keep your head on a swivel for the others. Why do y'all get so comfortable? Here's the last thing I'm going to say in my out. I'm out after this. And this is going to go for everybody, regardless of whatever race you are. This is going to go for all of y'all. The reason why somebody like Dahmer was able to go into whatever community and do whatever they did. The reason why that was possible, I'm going to tell you like this, is because there's so many people, including some of us that are listening, right? There are so many people who have what we would call attachment injuries, situations from your childhood that is unhealed. You want to be loved. See, a lot of these victims were looking for attention. They were looking to be popular, to be famous. They were looking for something. And a lot of our children, whether they find it from social media or in our homes, who knows, a lot of our children feel neglected. A lot of our children feel ostracized, singled out, outcast, the black sheep. A lot of our children feel unattractive, unwanted, rejected. And so when you have these emotions that are unhealed, it's not uncommon to find somebody like a Dahmer that would take advantage of our children, that would take advantage of you. Not all of these people were kids. Some of these people were 30 something years old. They all weren't 18, 19, 20. I know 18, 19, 20, we say those are young adults. They're still babies to me. My daughter's 24. She's going to be a baby to me until she hit 30. I know I'm wrong. I know I'm a different breed. But until she's 30, she's going to be a baby to me. She's 24 years old. But at the end of the day, she ain't as smart as I am. I don't give up that she's going into medical school. She ain't as smart as I am. I can move in the streets. Right? You understand what I'm trying to say? Born and raised in the streets. I know how to maneuver in the streets. She was raised in a bubble. And some of these kids, they're online and they're looking at other people's standards of beauties, other people's standards of education, wealth, smartness, all this stuff. And then along comes somebody to talk all that cool shit in your child's ear. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? I said we need to start having these kind of conversations in our communities. There's a lot of our children, our nieces, our brothers, our sisters that do not feel love. And I don't care. I'm not talking about babies. I'm talking about there's a lot of us that's in their 30s that will still go meet strangers in their homes, that will still go home with somebody they just met at the bar, that will still have sex with somebody they met 15 seconds ago. This still happens to this day because people have so many unhealed traumas and unhealed injuries, and they're looking for love in all the wrong places. Now, I'm not trying to be like Eddie Murphy and say Waka Puna. And those of you guys who are Eddie Murphy fans, you'll get what I'm talking about. Not trying to be funny, but it was funny what he said. But nonetheless, a lot of people are looking for love in all the wrong places. I know people 40 years old that'll meet a dude tonight and have sex with him tomorrow. 40 years old, making juvenile mistakes. Some of these jokers are getting on airplanes going to other states, other countries to meet people because they're desperate. Desperate. Oh, but they won't call it desperate. My bad. They won't call it desperate. Another reason why another reason why that happens so often is because so many of us are socialized. Y'all hear me? To say, get the bag. Well, you're going to meet him, you're going to do that, or you're going to meet her, you're going to do it. Women are catching men off guard, and men are catching women off guard. And we still out in these streets doing the same thing. So when I was watching this Jeffrey Dahmer movie, I was like, that still happens to this day. You just need somebody to show you some attention for some of these broken souls out here. You show them some attention. Next thing you know, you can take them home for the night. You can take them home for the night. Why is that? Despite all the evidence, information, and knowledge we have that says this is not safe, we still do it. We still do it. Now, am I saying this happens to everybody? No, I'm not saying that whatsoever. But I'm saying it does increase the likelihood for it to happen. And that's the thing that we don't want to talk about. Everybody's so sensitive to say certain things. Oh, don't say that. It's sex positivity. I didn't say you can't have sex with whoever you want to do. Have sex with whoever you want to. You absolutely right. It's sex positivity, but it does not erase being intelligent. It doesn't stop you from being smart. Sex positivity and being foolish are two different things. Two different things. But when we hear somebody telling you, maybe you shouldn't do that, we're judgmental. We're judgmental. We're judging people. It's like wisdom has gone out the window. And we're so afraid of talking about it now. The things that should tell you, this is probably not safe. People are so sensitive now. Well, I don't want somebody telling me what to do with my body. Do whatever you want to do, bruh. Go ahead. I'm good. I ain't gonna tell you what to do. Do whatever you want to do. Okay, you met them 5 seconds ago. Oh, you're going to their house tonight. Oh, okay. Good for you. Good for you. See, but you say it's risky. Just picking people up randomly is not safe. You say it's risky, but this society today says it's sex positivity. You should be able to do that. Because they say by you saying that, that's judgmental. Wisdom is out the window. By you saying that, that's judgmental. How dare you say that, KR Woods 125? You should be reported and lose your job. Right? Thank you, Sneaky Jim. You should be reported and lose your job. You saying something like that? This is what this world has come back to. It's the craziest thing ever. It's the craziest thing ever. We got young people telling other people, if you want to do this, then this is what you have to do. So what? Who cares? Just use a condom. Who cares? But then when you end up dead, everybody's going to be crying. I knew he wasn't right. I knew he looked weird. He just looked like he eat people. Don't start crying now. Don't start saying you knew he wasn't right now. Don't start saying he looked like he eat people now. Don't start saying that now. When you just told your homegirl to go ahead and get it so you can get the new retros, don't start saying it now. Somebody said that's thirsty. That's thirsty, but does it happen? Does it happen? Whether you think it's thirsty or not, does it happen? Does it happen? Call it thirsty if you want to. So how are we being socialized right now in this world? We're looking at Dahmer. We're getting a snapshot into the past, 1978 to 1991. And so many of us are looking at it through the lens of the past, not realizing that is still happening right now to this day, baby. Right now to this day. It is not the past, it is current day. Don't let the time frame trick you. So how many of you all know what your children are doing? How many of you all know what your best friend is doing? Know what your cousin is doing? Your sister, your uncle, your brother. How many of you know? We're not going to know what they're doing. And that's another thing that this Jeffrey Dahmer show taught me. No matter how many, like the one guy who was death. What was his name? What was his name? Let me see if I have a victim a picture of him. I don't know if I do. I don't know. I don't think I have a picture of him. But I know he's among all these victims. He had maybe like 17 or 16 victims. I know he among these victims. I don't think I have a picture of him directly. But remember, the one they highlighted in the video who was coming from they said Tony. Somebody said Tony, right? And you're probably right, Tony. But coming from the gay guy who was death. I felt so sorry for him. I mean, I felt sorry for all of them, right? All it says 16 deaths here. Somebody else said 17 deaths. I don't know if it's 16 or 17. I feel so sorry for all of them. But there's one Tony guy, and I don't have his picture situated, but the Tony guy, when you hear his mother speak and how loving she was toward her son and how much she tried to tell him to stay close to your family because family protect you. Listen, your child can be loving. Your child can be caring. Your child can be an upright, stand-up citizen. Your child can be the epitome of a woman, of a man, be the best thing on earth, and your child is still going to have their secrets. Right? Somebody said it's 17, but he got convicted for 16. Okay. Your child is still going to have their secrets. No matter what kind of safety precautions you take, if your child is suffering, if your child is feeling like they're not loved, if your child is wondering why everybody else got a partner and they don't have a partner, if your child is going through any of those emotions, when I say your child, I'm not just talking about minors. Your child can be 35 years old and feel like, why am I not married? Why am I not coupled? Why do I not have children? Why do I not have a girlfriend? Why do I not have a boyfriend? It don't matter. If your child has those thoughts, sometimes, not all the times, sometimes those thoughts are motivating decisions to make poor decisions. I'm just saying. He was looking for love. He has standards and boundaries for everybody. That Tony Hughes guy, he had boundaries. He had standards. Even though he couldn't speak, he write down what he wanted to say. I like what he said to that one photographer. I said, well, now, if I was still single, I would use his line. Because that was powerful when he said, I'm looking for love. Does love live here? And he would shut down people because he was looking for love. He ain't find no love in Jeffrey Dahmer. He found somebody who was patient enough to exchange notes with him so they can communicate. He found somebody who was patient enough to work with him because everybody else was rejecting him because he was deaf. He found somebody who he thought accepted him for who he was, but in fact, that man wanted to eat him too. Looking for love in all the wrong places. Of course, KR would. She said he just happened to be gay, a human being. Absolutely. And this was less about him being gay. This was the fact that he was deaf and he was taken advantage of. This is the fact that he wanted love and he was taken advantage of. So what I'm saying to you all is that this video should not be a turnoff. It shouldn't be, oh, that's some gay shit, I ain't gonna watch it. Because some people in our community say things like that. I want to watch a man interested in another man. Really? This is what we doing? Really? That's what we're doing? You got to expand your mind. This stuff is still happening in our communities. People are still going missing in our communities. You think he was the only cannibal that existed? You don't think people are eating people right now? right? So only thing I'm saying is we got to open up our minds and realize that maybe we need to practice some more discretion. Some people call it discrimination. Some people call it racial profiling. Some people call it judgmental or judgment. Everyone has a different word for calling it things, right? But I don't know about you guys, but I'm saying maybe we need to practice some more of whatever you want to call it. Whatever you want to call it, maybe we need to practice some more of that in order for us to get ahead of what's happening in our community, because there's a lot of missing boys and girls. So I end this broadcast by giving a fat shout out. Some people ain't gonna like this, but I don't care. We're gonna give a fat shout out to this brother right here. Even though he didn't kill Dahmer on some on some Black Civil Rights Matters. This guy is Christopher Scarver. We're gonna give a fat shout out for him for putting an end to Dahmer's life. And I know some people are not gonna like it because they're gonna say, "Oh, but he's still a human and he requires the mercy of the Lord and forgiveness, and we should not wish that kind of stuff on nobody." And that is not our decision to make. That is the Lord's decision to make. We should not decide who lives or die. I am so upset that she even said she wants to give a shout out to Christopher Scarver for ending Jeffrey Dahmer's life. Shout out to Christopher Scarver for doing what so many of us are afraid to do. Shout out to Christopher Scarver that said, no, no, bro. I ain't going to give you an opportunity to get out on parole and eat somebody else. Shout out to Christopher Scarver that said, listen, bruh, I ain't got nothing else to live for. But you cannot live, my man, because I'm scared to be next to you. I'm scared to be eating next to you, bro. Like, shout out to him. I'm just saying. D. Jenkins says, I live in Milwaukee. Maybe just talk to your children if they have issues, but don't let Dharma consume the airways. It's been many years and it brings all memories back up. I work with one of the deceased sisters. It's horrible. The movie should not consume your thoughts. That in spite of the issue, don't give Netflix the time of day with that movie. Stay blessed. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has an opinion. So D, if you just happen to miss what the purpose of my show is, you're going to have to just watch it on replay. All right. But if I use a movie for a teachable moment, I'm going to use a movie for a teachable moment because this is a teachable moment. This is more than just talking to your children if they have issues. And like I said at the very beginning of the recording of this show, like I said, I'm trying to be as sensitive as possible to the victims, not to re-traumatize them, but it is a lesson for a lot of people because those victims are not the only victims. There are victims right now, today, that are still going through that, but we're not talking about it. And sometimes we need to be reminded because in our society, we're so busy being busy that we forget about things. We forget about things that have happened that have been so detrimental and traumatizing. And all of a sudden, because we're humans, we recalibrate and we bounce back and we forget about it. And sometimes things got to be brought to the light again so you can remember, don't move like that in these streets. It is more than just talking to your children. It is more than just talking to your children. So I respect your opinion. I get your opinion. But the reason why I believe, now this is just my opinion, I believe the reason why we keep getting subjected to history over and over again, because we're always trying to forget the trauma and the pain. We're always trying to forget it. Sometimes, just sometimes, it serves as a reminder. Sometimes it serves as a reminder because some of us, we like to bury things and pretend like it's never happened. And that also is not the right way of going about it. We need to talk about people like this. so that we can stop being comfortable about people like this still plaguing our communities, especially our Chicago community. So we can't sit them like, oh, I live in Milwaukee. Okay, you live in Milwaukee. How about go to Chicago and see what's happening to those girls and boys in Chicago? With all due respect. With all due respect. See, we can't say, oh, this hurts me and I don't care about what's going on with anybody else. That's not cool. That's not cool. I get your message and I respect it, but it's selfish, to be honest with you. It's selfish. Because sometimes people need to be reminded so they can stay vigilant, because people get comfortable. And if you're denying that people get comfortable, then I don't know what to say to you. You could talk to your children till you blue in. I'm done. I'm done. Thank you for that, Eunice. Oh, Eunice. Eunice says, I live in Milwaukee too, and my husband knew some of the victim's family, but this is a teachable moment. It has to be a teachable moment. It has to be, because this is not about Dahmer. This is about how comfortable we have become. So when I speak on behalf of all the missing boys and girls, especially in my community, most importantly, my community. When I speak about how visible my community is and how invisible we are at the same time. Do you know what it feels like to be visible and invisible at the same time? Do you know how that feels? See, people can't fathom stuff like that. They always got shit to say, but they can't fathom stuff like that. Do you know how that feels to be visible and invisible at the same time? It's crazy. Somebody said, I have 5 kids. You can talk all day, but they going to do them. So we need to know what's going on in these streets. You're right. Our kids are going to do them. And I'm not saying they're not. You can talk to your kids all day, every day, till you blue, purple, yellow, pink, whatever color you want to be in the face. You can do that all goddamn day. But what I'm saying to you is, Glenda, y'all remember who Glenda is, right? Glenda needed a backup because Glenda knew something wasn't right. Glenda needed a backup. And because we have been so accustomed in our community to minding our business, we didn't give Glenda the backup she deserved. She was bold enough to say something ain't right. She was bold enough to address the cops. She was bold enough to check the cops. She was bold enough to put a blanket on that young boy. She thought she was doing all that she can do, but unfortunately, the cops gave that boy back to his killer. We need more Glendas that says this ain't right. We need more Glendas that ain't afraid to say, y'all need to get your asses down here and speak to the news reporters. Or we need more Glendas. Yes, that call was a real call. That call was a real call. They played that during the trial. That call was a real call. We need more Glendas. There's another one right here. I got to get out of here. Y'all going to have me on here all day. Somebody said, I'm a social worker and we do not protect our community. We do not. Don't get me started on the social workers. I'm a social worker. I'm a doctor of social work. Don't get me started on the social work. That's a whole nother conversation. Don't get me started. Because let me tell y'all something, family. I know y'all heard all the killer stories too, but there's a lot of social workers. I'm not going to say all, but there's a lot of social workers that close their eyes and they say, well, shit, I got to get back to my own kids. It's 5:00. My shift is over. Don't bring that shit to me tonight. Speak to me tomorrow. I gotta go. There's a lot of social workers with that kind of mindset. Forget the ethics. Forget the regulations. Forget what get your ass sued for malpractice. Forget all of that. When 5:00 come, they going home. right? They don't care. Man, look, I'm just trying to bring you the truth. I'm just trying to tell you what it is. You can watch it, you can not watch it. I don't care what you do. You don't even have to watch the Netflix show. This is not about Netflix. This is about being a constant reminder that even though we're visible people, we are invisible. And the invisibility of our community causes us to be taken advantage of. So I love every last one of y'all, all of y'all, peace and blessings. Thank you so much for putting up with me tonight. I love all of you. I love you all, right? Somebody says here, because ain't no way that man got away with all that and nobody knew. Please. They knew. Glenda knew. Even the cops thought it was suspicious. But nobody want to do their job. Like my grandmother says all the time. Everybody want to get paid, but nobody want to work. That's what this movie was about. The failure of the system. The injustice of our community. That's what it really was about. Everybody want to get paid, but nobody want to work. And even if y'all are in that position, where you know you should do what's right, but because you want to go home, shame on you. Shame on you. It's either you're going to be with the community or you not. But peace and blessings to all my family here. I love every last one of y'all. I got you, T. You say you text me your number. I'm going to check that text and I'm going to get back to you because we got some work to do. So I thank you for that, T, in the Teal Kitchen. I appreciate that. Listen, every last one of y'all, thank y'all so much. For all my new visitors that don't really know the channel and they saw Dom and they want to come on because they want to say from Milwaukee and don't talk about this. Don't you talk about that. We don't want to hear it. I respect that. I suggest you sign up for some therapy because life doesn't work that way. It's not realistic. Life doesn't say because you don't want to hear it, no one's going to talk about it. That's just not how life works. And I understand your position and I understand why you feel that way. But that's just not being realistic. It's not out of 7 billion people in the world, that's just not being realistic. But there's always a therapist that you can contact. There's always a group that you can go to. There's always something. There's always something to help you to cope with your pain and your hurt. I respect that always. But at the same time, part of being a social worker is to identify social injustice. And I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to keep my mouth shut because what I have to say bothers you. That sounds like a you thing, not a me thing. Because I got work to do and it's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. The work that has to be done is beyond your feelings and my feelings. The work that has to be done has to get done whether you like it or not. And that's just the bottom line. So go ahead, family, subscribe to the channel. If you are on Facebook, like and follow the page. Thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever you want to give. I'm cool with it all. If you're on YouTube, make sure you share it because YouTube has my page shadow banned because I've been telling your asses to get armed and go ahead and get your gun permit and get your gun. You know, you might have to spend a few $100, 4, 5, 6, $8,000. But if you save your money and get it, you better be prepared for what's to come. I'm just trying to say, I know some of y'all don't like guns, but that's okay. I love them. I exercise my constitutional right. I'm just saying. I love every last one of you guys. Like and follow the page. To all my people who have ordered their pheromone perfumes and their massage oil candles, you should be receiving your shipments in the next few days. The orders have been sent out, so you'll be getting your shipments. For everybody else who is interested in the massage oil candles or the pheromone perfumes, go ahead and visit my page, helpingcouplesreconnect.com. Helpingcouplesreconnect.com. Follow me on Instagram is where I share my dating experiences with my boo. And we share our lives. We're open to it. We're going to be doing a video and we're going to be talking about a recent argument we had about a chick texting my man. But we're going to talk about that on Instagram. So make sure y'all go ahead and subscribe to that platform over there and join us in our conversation as we have a conversation about friends of the opposite sex. If you know what I mean. Speak to you all soon. Have a blessed night.